What up, guys? Welcome to Angela Avalon's YouTube channel. I'm Angela. Subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and watch until the end if you want to know everything and everything about astrology, especially this placement in particular that we're going to talk about tonight or today, whenever it is that you're watching. And that is going to be about Moon in Scorpio. Actually, I just made a Moon Pluto aspect, and I really and I mentioned in that video something that I feel like is not being mentioned almost at all, and that is that it's the only aspect to having a natal chart that is equivalent to a moon in Scorpio. But this video is going to be about moon in Scorpio only. So I try to make this video while the plutonic information is still, the plutonic vibe is still so fresh. But moon in Scorpio. So what is the moon? The moon represents our home life, or upbringing, or mother. It rules over the sign of Cancer in the fourth house of home, family, motherhood. Yeah, basically the way you were brought up. And Scorpio is a water sign that is ruled by Pluto and Mars. And also is not being mentioned enough that both planets, Pluto and Mars, rule Scorpio. Pluto and Mars, in other words, are siblings. I like to refer to them as the brothers of this of the zodiac, right? Planets of the planet. You know what I'm saying, right? I like to refer to them as brothers of the planets that rule the zodiac. That's what I mean. But and it rules over the 8th house of death, taboo, sex, and Oh, and one thing that I want to open up with before I forget, because I've just seen information, just like things just going on and on in my brain. So before I forget, I want to mention it first. I think. Well, I actually don't know if it's like in general, because I think I only heard really one astrologer that said that she thinks that Aquarius is the like she thinks about Aquarius as the anarchist, right? Her name starts with magic, and she refers to the Aquarius as the anarchist. And I'm not disagreeing. Like, I agree to a level. I can see it. I agree. But the thing is, I would also refer to Scorpio too as an anarchist in a way. And what do I mean by that? Especially with the moon here. Because what tends to happen with the moon in Scorpio is that from childhood, basically, because these people deal with so much chaos since their childhood, since their very early youth, what tends to happen is that they have, and I've seen it too, like especially like this one individual, this one man, the moon in Scorpio, and it's very moon in Scorpio, and he's very much into anarchy, and he doesn't have any Aquarius placements. And I'm like, and I couldn't help but feel that the anarchy comes from his moon in Scorpio, and I think it's also Scorpio rising. But and he's anarchist, not in a very political way too, because of course it's more political. No, he's very anarchist, but it comes from like a more of a deep place, so they can be anarchist, but it comes from comes from a personal place, more like maybe a place of personal injustice. And so this is just one element I wanted to mention first. I think it's like, I usually would not start a video with this, but I just didn't want it to escape my head. But I think later in the video we'll make the connection. But a moon in Scorpio. So the moon in Scorpio, it's a very secretive, private, introverted placement for the moon. These people are very private, okay, very introverted, very secretive. And they're very much into not sharing their business with anyone. They don't trust anyone easily. But many times what happens is they don't trust anyone, period. And they're very their living conditions, their childhood, the relationship with the mother, again, unlike with the moon Pluto aspect, it can go either way. But many times if the relationship with the mother was in fact toxic and negative, what tends to happen is that their mother was probably for the most part very intrusive, possessive, very manipulative, very manipulative, and she was very, she was manipulative in the sense that she wanted to control the child and have and really, like, the child many times was like a doll on, I think it's called a marionette, like, one of those dolls that you like, that you can like monitor, like, that you can control with like whatever, I forgot how it's called, but the child was very much like some sort of almost like some sort of like a character for the mother, right? That you could just script however she would like, Most likely she wanted the Moon in Scorpio child to do what she wanted, do what she thought was best, do what she wanted. She was very selfish mothers with the Moon in Scorpio. And so the Moon in Scorpio person really grew up to be very... Oh, by the way, there might have been some, not all cases, but some displacement. Some people with displacement definitely suffered physical abuse, especially from the mother. It's not going to be the case for all people, but it's definitely going to be the case for some. A good percentage of Moon in Scorpio people definitely suffer that. And I'm not going to lie, like, if you're a Moon in Scorpio, if you're one of the Moon in Scorpios that had a bad mom, you probably at some point really wanted your mother to be gone for good. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a, because Scorpio rules death and the moon is your mother, many times you might have felt that your mother needed to be gone, that your relationship was very much like, it was so toxic that it was very much like until death do us apart kind of thing. And you could have felt that, I myself relate a lot to Moon in Scorpios, because I have Moon opposition Pluto, and like, guys, I really know what you're going through. This, I really, like, well, there are a lot of people that couldn't handle a Moon in Scorpio. I feel like someone like me with a Moon Pluto aspect, a difficult one, could handle Moon Scorpio like no other, because it's exactly, so a Moon in Scorpio. So and in general too, they might have felt they might also felt like the black sheep of the family, and if not just the mother, you know what I'm saying? If it's not just the mother that treated you like some person though she could control it, it could have been your entire family that kind of looked down on you, and it might have been so hurtful for you and so traumatizing for you that you wanted to get away and be so far away from them. It's also a thing with the Moon Scorpio. The Moon Scorpio grows up hating their family and mother so much that they want to be far away from them as possible, Again, not everyone. It really depends on the rest of your chart as well. But for many, if not just some, for many people, that's gonna be the case. You want to get away from them. It sounds like you have to really get away from them physically to recharge yourself and heal yourself from the toxic energy that your family and your mother especially instilled in you. You know what I'm saying? So Moon in Scorpio, another element of a Moon in Scorpio is that there's a lot of fertility to displacement. Displacement is probably the placement that rules sex appeal. These people are very sexy, like because you have to understand, because the moon sign is also your it shows physically, together with your ascendant sun sign. and the moon sign, those three are ruling your physical appearance, your face especially. Ascendant is gonna rule your body, but the moon is the moon sign is gonna rule your face. It's gonna dictate how your face is gonna look like, right? And your the natural expression of your face as well, right? And with the moon in Scorpio, you're gonna radiate a lot of fertility, you know, men and women with this placement, doesn't matter. Men and women with this placement, they're gonna radiate a lot of fertility, a lot of sex appeal. They're gonna be very naturally alluring, you know. They're gonna be, it's very much, you know, if it's a woman, it's very much a femme fatale, you know. You know, I can give you, I could even, you know, for better visual, I could give like an example for a famous female with displacement is Lily Rose Depp. She has a moon in Scorpio, and she has also Scorpio rising, and she is, you know, very alluring nonetheless, you know. Even though, you know, there is this, you know, conversation, you know, that she, you know, that she's rather polarizing. But it's almost like with the moon in Scorpio here, it doesn't matter. A person doesn't even have to be that attractive to be very alluring, you know. Because they are going to have, like I said, there's a lot of fertility, you know. So even a female here, even if she's not attractive or she doesn't look like, even she might not even look anything like Lily Rose Depp, she'll be very alluring nonetheless, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Lily is just an example that came into my head, you know, for the younger generation here watching this. But there's a lot of other ones that just came into my head. I'm pretty sure. Well, there's a man with this placement. I'm pretty sure The Weeknd also has this placement. But yeah. So yeah, Moon in Scorpio, very alluring, very sexually attractive people, and. They're very, they have a lot of, they're very seductive, and they know how to seduce too. But here's the thing, that it's not only that they know how to seduce you physically, sexually, you know, and get the person that they want, you know. They're very good at getting the objects of their desire. But the thing here is that they are very, very keen at seducing psychologically. This is the best placement to know how to control someone's mind. That's why they're very good at seducing psychologically. And what do I mean by psychological seduction here? Is that many times with everything that these people are doing, it's always an eye for an eye. Okay? These people, when they give you a gift, it's almost never just a gift. It's either a way to lure, it's either one of the ways to lure you in, or it's a very or it's they're gonna give you the gift, but as soon as you do something to upset them, like which usually is rejecting them or disrespecting them somehow in a resentful way, they're gonna be like immediately they're going to be triggered and remember like what they did to you. Like, let's say they gave you a gift a few days ago, and a few days ago, and you know, that day, the coming, you know, days, you know, let's say that they gave you a gift like last week, and on the next week you either resented them, rejected them, disrespected them, you did something to upset these people. Man, these people are gonna be like, immediately the Moon in Scorpio will remember the gift they gave you last week, and all the love and sacrifice they did for you in general. They're, you know, since they knew you, these people instantly will feel this reserved love that turned into hatred, and this anger that turned into rage, and they will want to kill you. I'm telling you, like, it's exactly like that. Like I said, like I have a moon Pluto. I know what I'm talking about, okay? This is what I'm saying, like immediately, okay? Like, don't, like, they're not just gonna, you know, they notice everything. They're good at scanning. They notice everything. And that's why they're very good at scanning, and that's why they're very good natural psychologists, because whenever they see a person, they're like, tick, 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 you know, they're scanning you, and they know things about you, and also they're very good natural stalkers. Like, they know how to find out information about you. You know what I'm saying? And you have to understand, having the moon here, like, okay, let's say for example, you know, there's a Mercury in Scorpio, right? Because Mercury rules the mind, right? All the gifts that come with a Mercury in Scorpio, a moon in Scorpio is going to have them 3 times more, because it's the emotional mind. So having the emotional mind, you know, ruled by Scorpio, it's almost like having 3 personal placements in Scorpio injected into one, okay? At least like Mercury, Sun, and maybe the Ascendant too, and injected into one. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be like that with every other sign. That's the thing. That's what's so special and unique about Scorpio. It's only really this sign that is like that. The same with the planet Pluto, just like I said in my Moon Pluto video. Having a Moon Pluto is the only moon aspect that is going to be equivalent to having it in this sign that the planet aspecting the moon rules, okay? It's only with the Scorpio. So far, I've seen it only with Scorpio, okay? And it's not going to be, you know, there's something special with all the signs, but it's always, but this particular element only going to be with the Scorpio, okay? Do not get it twisted, guys. Only with Scorpio, okay? So yeah, because this sun is so intense, Pluto is so intense that it really takes over everything everywhere it lands, okay? You know, you really have to think about Pluto. You really have to think about Scorpio like yeah, I don't even know if there's a word. It's almost like, yeah, it's a very domineering energy, and it dominates wherever it lands, okay? So having the moon in Scorpio here, the moon, which is probably the most important planet of all the personal planets, having it in Scorpio, it's gonna make one very, very insightful, but also very keen to, like, yeah, I haven't mentioned, right? I'm gonna mention it now, that, you know, it is known astrologically and in the ancient books and everything that the moon is debilitated in Scorpio. And the thing is, while I don't disagree, I myself personally don't like to think like that about planets, because, like I said many times, just like I said in all my other videos, I mean, many times it's just a different energy. So in my opinion, the moon is not debilitated in Scorpio, but it is, you know, makes sense to me why many astrologers would think that, because the emotional nature is so intense, and you either, you know, love people until death do you apart, or you hate and you consumed with such vengeance and rage. Not even anger. Those people don't even feel anger. They feel rage mostly. That is so uncomfortable, you know. It's almost like the emotional distress that comes with this placement is so constant and so frequent that it's almost like impossible to be comfortable with it. Yeah, and I, you know, as a moon Pluto myself, you know, I relate to that. Actually, there's a term called for the moon in Scorpio and the moon Pluto people, and it's called the Hades moon in astrology. I actually known that since I started learning about astrology, and it's called the Hades moon. Because of the underworld, right? Because Pluto, you know, Scorpio rules the underworld, you know. Pluto and Scorpio, they rule the underworld. And that's why having the moon either in Scorpio or the moon Pluto aspect, it's called the Hades moon. Yeah, because it's very difficult. It rules the underworld. But here's the thing. It's almost like there's like this, almost like a bit of an irony, I would say, because it's so uncomfortable to live with such a deep moon such as the moon in Scorpio, right? But the thing is, it also at the same time, it makes you very resilient, because there's nothing that you cannot handle, okay? You can handle everything, you know? yeah, it's very much like that with displacement, but at the same time it's very uncomfortable to have displacement. And what many times happens, it makes very hard for you to form relationships, healthy, normal relationships with people, because it's almost like what happens here is that because of the way you were brought up, because you were brought up with such unhealthy, toxic upbringing, what's gonna happen is that your upbringing in childhood was, because it was so traumatizing for you, what happened is that it created mental scars in you. It created mental scars so severe that you couldn't help but develop instincts that your relationships with people, you automatically, like systematically, your instincts are built that way that you would create fights with people to confront your actual feelings. You know what I'm saying? And many times it will happen to you, just like with the moon Pluto. People, which by the way I haven't mentioned in the moon Pluto aspect, because I just so much to say that I missed this one aspect, but here I'm mentioning it here in the moon in Scorpio. And but the same with the moon Pluto, if it's not a moon in Scorpio, if you don't have a moon in Scorpio but you have a moon Pluto, the same thing is gonna happen. You're gonna have this coping mechanism, like you're gonna have these instincts because of the way you were brought up. Because you were brought up so unhealthily, what's gonna happen is that you will have urges, instinctual, impulsive urges and impulses to create fights with the people that you're close to, relationships, friends, because that's the only way you can truly form function in your relationships, and that's why these people thrive in chaos. Moon in Scorpio, right? That's why, especially moon in Scorpio, they thrive in chaos. Moon in Scorpio along with the moon Pluto people, you all thrive in chaos, because that's why you feel this urge, impulses to create fights with the people you love and close to, because that's the only way you feel like you can thrive, and confront what you're actually feeling. Because many times what happens in here with the moon in Scorpio is that because your emotional nature is so deep and intense, more often than not, you feel like you cannot just feel your emotions like a normal person, because your emotional nature is so abnormal, because it's so deep. It's almost like an ocean. It's almost like the Atlantic Ocean. It's freezing, icy water, and you feel like you can just let yourself feel your emotions, because you feel like it would kill you, because you feel like it's dangerous for you to just feel with no you feel like it's too, you always feel like it's too dangerous for you to just feel your emotion just like that, right? In a calm, healthy way, and just let yourself feel those intoxicating deep emotions. So that's why what happens is that you always feel like you have to create some sort of a chaos in order for these emotions to have an avenue for you to feel them. Okay, it's very much like that with displacement. The moon in Scorpio, it's very much like that, yeah. And it's, nonetheless also very, very vengeful and free, and if completely unhealthy, then people will not even have to wrong you for you to feel like you want to harm them. It's a lot of pent-up energy in here. Pent-up, even like the reason why this energy many times is so malicious is because it's so pent-up and so because like I said, you can just let yourself feel your emotions. So the many times inside, because many times those emotions have to do with the people that wronged you, and because if you let them in and you feel like you can't let them out, because they're in you for too long, what happens, they turn malicious, they turn evil, and that's why you feel like you almost can just, it's almost like many times you feel like, it's almost like many times what can happen is that you will just be out and about. Because the moon is very subconscious here, right? The moon is very subconscious, in general, right? But having it with the moon in Scorpio, what happens is that you can just be about your business, right? Just casually, and what will happen is that you will feel this immense like rage just hits you out of nowhere. And the reasons why you feel it is because it's so because your emotions always have to take this reserved step back and not let themselves out. Okay, you could, if you would just let yourself feel your emotions, when they came to you firsthand, you would feel them at a much lessened level as you usually do, because you feel that you can only feel them if some chaos occurs in order to create this avenue for you to feel them. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, and the reason why you feel like this rage comes out of nowhere, it's not only because the emotions are so pushed back. It's not only because of that. It's also because Pluto is such an outer planet. It's a generational planet, and it's an outer planet. It's not a personal planet like the moon. So having the moon in Scorpio, in a sign ruled by a planet so outer, it's that's why you feel like they came out of nowhere, because they're not. You feel like it's almost like they had to. It's almost like this rage that you're feeling, all these emotions, but especially the rage that comes to hit you out of nowhere, right? It's almost like this rage. It's because it's almost like this rage had to travel a certain distance, right? It's almost like this rage had to travel a certain distance for you to inject itself to you, for you to feel it, and the way the reason it feels like that is because Pluto is actually such an outer planet. It's not like Venus that is close to Earth. It's more far away, and that's why you feel like it came out of nowhere and traveled all this distance to inject itself to you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And yeah, needless to say, like in the beginning of the video, I said the anarchy. Scorpio alongside with Aquarius rules anarchy. But the difference is that the anarchy is not very political with Scorpio. It's more personal. If it turned political, it's because it was personal first. You know what I'm saying? It's a very deep-rooted, energy in here. And I'm not kidding you guys. Like, if you don't find an outlet, a healthy outlet, an avenue to let out these emotions, they can turn into not only into evil forces, but they can turn themselves into like physical diseases in here, because they're so intense. With the moon in Scorpio here, Pluto ruling Scorpio, like, yeah, it can manifest itself in like either like heartburns, or maybe like, especially like with women, it can like even because because Scorpio rules sexuality. If you're a woman, and because the moon is so feminine, if you're a woman, you can even feel certain, and I even remember reading it on the website, and it suddenly like clicked. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but I feel like the ladies will know what I'm talking about. You might feel certain like unexplained, maybe like sensations, or maybe pains down there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that makes sense. Because I think I read it at the astrology place. That website is one of the best websites to read about astrology, and they mentioned it at the moon Pluto aspect, by the way. And I read it, and I was like, oh, that's actually very familiar what they're talking about. And yeah, and I doubt it's any different for moon in Scorpio, because like I said, this is the only placement in astrology that moon in Scorpio, right, it's the only moon placement, right, having a moon in Scorpio, that is almost, if not totally equivalent as having a moon Pluto aspect. Okay, so yeah, so I doubt it's any different for moon in Scorpio. Again, if those emotions are so pushed back and you don't have any avenue for them, it might manifest itself physically, and many times it can be down there, or it can manifest itself into heartburns, physically. But yeah, but it's all because it comes from an emotional place, you know. It only turned itself into a physical disease or physical disorder because it was emotional first. It's really because you have to emotionally heal, not physically even, you know. I mean, yeah, to a certain extent, if it's really physically wrong, you have to heal physically too. But it's not because you developed this disease because of a physical thing. It's because it was emotional too. It's a very psychosomatic thing, you know. So usually it's because you have to heal emotionally and spiritually first, and then the physical distress will go away as well, you know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. So yeah, really, it's really important. Like self-healing is, you know, self-healing is always important, but it's especially important to a moon in Scorpio, as well as a moon Pluto person. So yeah. Oh, by the way, and you know what I said, that it can manifest itself, you know, the immense, you know, those icy, intoxicating emotions can manifest themselves physically. And when I said like sexually, like when I said like for females, right, sexually, I don't even like mean necessarily like you could be like you could be a virgin with displacement and still have that, and that's what I mean. Like you could be like it might not be because something of a sexual thing. Like sexually you might be very healthy, so it's not like that kind of a problem, if you know what I mean. You know, it might be because those emotions manifested themselves, and the reason why you can feel it in that private area is because Scorpio rules private areas. So you see what I'm saying? If those intoxicating emotions manifest themselves physically, it will manifest physically mostly in the places that it physically rules, you know, because every sign rules a physical place in us, you know. And Scorpio rules, you know, the private areas, the genitalia and everything. And yeah, so that's why. But there is that extra, you know, thing, you know. There's always like a more extended level for the females, because the moon is a feminine planet and having in Scorpio. So females will feel at least the physical things a bit more, but men will feel it too, but even more females, you know. But yeah, so oh, also the moon, you know, speaking of sexuality, the moon in Scorpio is you know, they have a very, you know, it is, you know, deep placement, you know, that rules, you know, Scorpio rules a sexual intimacy, right, the 8th house. But it's also very, it is interesting because it's very they're very like they're very psychic, right? Like I mentioned, they're very psychic. They know how to scan people, so they might know like I say, how to please you, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, they know how to seduce. But it's not only that they know how to seduce, but they really know, they know how to navigate sexually, you know, if that makes sense. But and there is and you know, and depends on the Venus placement, right? For the most part, moon in Scorpio, they're very monogamous. This is a very monogamous placement to have in a natal chart. Like I said, unless other things oppose that, you know, it really depends on the Venus placement. For the most part, they're going to be monogamous. So if the Venus placement, you know, supports that, they're going to be 100,000% monogamous. And they're going to have no remorse for you if you cheated on them and they find out. They have no remorse for you, and they're capable of doing anything to make you regret that. This is, like I said, they're very vengeful, they're very vindictive. So, and like I said, they're only vindictive because of something you did to them first. It sounds like you will have to wrong them for them to get back at you, you know what I'm saying? It's only the very, you know, extreme cases that will want to hurt you without actually doing wrong by them, you know what I mean? So usually it's because you did something for them first. Like I said, in their mind, it's always justified because it's like, oh, but you did it. You did it. After all, everything I've done for you, you did it, you know? That's very much that. Yeah, you know what? Actually, what it gives me, a moon in Scorpio. A moon in Scorpio gives me, you know, if you ever watched the movie White Holinder, you know, Astrid, you know, the character, you know, it's also Michelle Pfeiffer is there. She plays the mom. And the character Astrid is played by Alison Lohman, you know. So yeah, and her mother is in jail and she has this toxic relationship with her mom. It's very much moon in Scorpio. You should watch this movie. If you have a moon in Scorpio, I feel like you will love this movie. But yeah, it's called White Holinder. It's from 2002. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, it's a very yeah, and also actually I mentioned him in the Venus in Scorpio man, but it's also very moon in Scorpio. You know, Joe Goldberg from the show You, very moon in Scorpio, and actually Ben Barchley, the actor that played him, also has a moon in Scorpio. Not only a moon in Scorpio, he has like a Scorpio stellium, like Sun, ascendant, Moon, Sun, Moon, ascendant, Mercury, Venus. I think all the personal planets, almost, if not all of them, are in Scorpio, and that's why he plays them so well too. Like he really injects that Scorpionic energy, that vindictiveness, that I will do everything for you, I'll kill for you until death do us apart. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is a moon in Scorpio, okay? This is moon in Scorpio at its peak. But again, like unhealthy too. Like not all of them will like murder people like that. But like I said, you know, they might as well do if they're very unhealthy, like Joe was, you know. And usually they show it, like in the show, he had a very bad upbringing. Like his mom abandoned him, you know. Very moon in Scorpio for him, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so yeah. Well, this video is gonna be soon 40 minutes, but I feel like I'm actually pretty satisfied with how this video turned out, and I feel like it really needed to be like 40 minutes long to really feel all that information that I had to deliver about the moon in Scorpio for you guys. Okay, so please subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, please do that, and give your comments down below, give me your feedback, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, and also if you want a reading, all the info is down below, my email and pricing and everything. Like I said, I'm flexible with the prices, just email me for a discount. And also please shoot me a donation. My 2 links of the GoFundMe and my Venmo links are down below, you know. And yeah, so please do that, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.